I've lived in the Nebraska sandhills for 64 years. Out here, the horizon isn't just a line. It's an ocean of grass, and the wind is a neighbor that never knows when to leave. When you're 40 miles from the nearest sheriff's station, you learn that the only thing that can hear you scream is the cattle, and they don't care. My name is Elias, and I thought I knew this land, but on a freezing Tuesday in October, I realized I was a stranger in my own home. It began at 1:14 a.m. I woke up not to a sound, but a vibration. A low rhythmic thrumming was traveling through the oak floorboards of my 1920s farmhouse, right into the frame of my bed. It felt like someone was tapping a mallet against the foundation over and over. I sat up, my joints popping in the cold, and reached for my mag light on the nightstand, my fingers brushing against the steel of my .30-30 Winchester. But I didn't grab it yet. Out here, you don't start with a gun unless you're sure. That was my first mistake. I walked to the window. In the pale moonlight, the sandhills looked like frozen waves. At the edge of the security floodlight's reach, a figure was standing. It wasn't a coyote or a stray cow. It was a tall man in a heavy dark coat that seemed to absorb the light. He was perfectly still, staring directly at my bedroom window despite the 40-mile-an-hour winds. I watched him for 5 minutes, my heart hammering. He didn't blink. I finally laced up my boots, grabbed my rifle, and stepped out onto the back porch. The air smelled of dirty dust and incoming snow. "Hey!" I shouted, my voice swallowed by the wind. "This is private property. You need help?" The figure didn't flinch. I clicked on my mag light, cutting a path through the dark towards the spot where he stood. The beam hit the grass, but the spot was empty. No one could have moved that fast. I scanned the open prairie, my breath coming in white plumes, when I noticed the cattle. They were backing away from the fence, their eyes reflecting my light like a sea of white orbs. But they weren't looking at the hills. They were looking behind me, towards the house. A sharp thud echoed from inside the kitchen, the sound of a heavy cast iron stove lid being dropped. My heart stopped. I had locked the door. I realized then that the figure in the field was just a decoy, a silhouette designed to lure me out. I climbed back onto my porch, my rifle leveled. Before I could touch the doorknob, I heard it, a soft metallic whistle from inside. It was a low version of Clementine, the pitch vibrating with a sinister energy. "I've got a gun," I yelled. "I'm calling the police." The whistle stopped. Then, a voice responded, distorted and layered, like a record playing at the wrong speed. "The phone lines were cut hours ago, Elias. The sheriff set a pileup on Highway 20. No one's coming." That paralyzed me. The person knew emergency reports. They knew my name. I backed away as the floodlight above me shattered, raining glass onto the gravel. In the darkness, the back door cracked open. I didn't wait. I sprinted to the truck, fumbling for the keys and jamming them into the ignition. On the third try, the engine roared to life. As the headlights flickered on, they illuminated the windshield. Someone had used grease to write a message on the glass. "Thanks for the bed, Elias. It smelled like old bones." I floored it, smashing through my own barbed wire fence and driving until I hit the fluorescent lights of a 24-hour gas station. When the deputies searched the ranch the next morning, they found a makeshift nest of my discarded clothes in the crawl space directly beneath my bed. There was enough waste to suggest someone had been living there for 2 weeks. But the worst part? On the other side of the floorboard, inches from where my head rested every night, there were thousands of tiny, shallow fingernail scratches. He had been waiting, right beneath me, for the perfect moment to come out. I'm Caleb, a fourth-generation rancher in Kansas. Out here, the wind is usually your only company. But during the stifling heat of an August storm, the silence can be a physical weight. One Tuesday night, the sky turned a sickly purple, and the power grid simply gave up. In the sudden dark, I lit a kerosene lantern, its amber glow casting flickering shadows that made my own kitchen feel like a stranger's house. Then, I heard it. A wet, heavy thud against the siding. It wasn't a branch. It sounded like a heavy bag of grain being dragged along the exterior wall. My heelers, Buster and Duke, were tucked under the table, whimpering with their ears flat, a sound they never made for thunder. I grabbed my 12-gauge and stepped onto the porch into the pouring rain. A flash of lightning revealed the steel-barred basement door standing wide open. I'd locked it at sunset, I was sure. I descended into the cellar, the air thick with a metallic, rotten scent. A lantern caught something in the laundry room floor. My own work clothes, shirts, jeans, and socks, were folded in a perfect clinical square. In the center lay a dead coyote, opened up with surgical precision. Before I could process the sight, the heavy oak door above me slammed shut. The deadbolt clicked. I was locked in. Slow, deliberate footsteps began pacing directly over my head. Then, a sound came through the floorboards that made my blood turn to ice. It was a perfect, pitch-perfect imitation of my dog Duke's yelp of pain, followed by Buster's low growl. I screamed and hammered on the door, but the mimicry didn't stop. It changed. A voice that sounded exactly like mine whispered through the wood.
Caleb, the corn is so tall this year, you can't see me, but I've seen you for a long, long time.
It was my draw, my cadence, but vibrating with a sickening, rhythmic distortion. Panicked, I remembered the old coal chute in the back corner. I shoved my shotgun through the narrow opening and crawled my way through the grit and cobwebs of the iron tunnel. I burst out into the mud and sprinted for the tractor shed, my heart redlining. I found my spare keys, jumped into my old Chevy, and tore down the driveway. In the rearview mirror, a flash of lightning illuminated the porch. A figure was standing there, wearing my yellow raincoat. It was waving at me, a slow, back and forth motion, exactly the way I wave at the mailman every morning. The police found the house empty 2 hours later. The gift in the basement was gone, replaced by a circle of bleached white stones. My dogs were found unharmed in the pantry, though they were shivering in total silence. On the kitchen table, a single plate had been set with a fresh steak from my freezer. Written in charcoal on the tablecloth were the words, "You're not as fast as you used to be, Caleb. See you in the harvest."
Thanks for watching. If you have a true story, send it to acestruestories@gmail.com. If you have an idea for a future video, leave a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, there's always another story.